Hello students, Business Law, Unit 2, Sale of Goods Act and Consumer Protection Act. In today's class, let us discuss about Sale of Goods Act 1930. Let us discuss contract of sale and essentials of valid sale. Let us have a discussion regarding sale and agreement to sell. Sale and agreement to sell. We can see some case laws related to contract of sale, types of goods, and conditions and warranties. First, let us focus on Sale of Goods Act 1930. The sale of goods is a very common type of commercial contract. Sale of Goods Act 1930 contains information concerning laws related to sale of goods. Before introduction of Sale of Goods Act 1930, the rules concerning the sale of goods were included in Chapter 7 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. Now let us focus on the important features of Sale of Goods Act 1930. The Indian Sale of Goods Act 1930 is highly based on English Sale of Goods Act 1893. The English Sale of Goods Act 1979 is now in use and the old act is cancelled in England. Before the introduction of Indian Sale of Goods Act 1930, the law relating to sale of goods was summarized in Chapter 7 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. Before 22nd September 1963, the Sale of Goods Act 1930 was known as the Indian Sale of Goods Act 1930. After 22nd September 1963, the word Indian was removed and since then the Act is known as the Sale of Goods Act 1930. The Sale of Goods Act is applicable to the entire India except Jammu and Kashmir by virtue of Section 3 and Schedule to the Act 3 of 1951. The Sale of Goods Act 1930 comprises sections from 1 to 64, 64A and 66. These sections are divided into 7 chapters. The various provisions of Sale of Goods Act 1930 and the type of revocations by the Act do not affect the following Section 66. Any title, liability, right, interest received prior to the introduction of this Act or any remedy or legal proceeding related to title, right, liability, obligation or interest. Anything accomplished or suffered prior to the introduction of the Act. Any enactment concerning the sale of goods that is not expressly cancelled by the Act or any legislation consistent with this or the laws of insolvency concerning the contract of the sale of goods. According to section 66(3), the provisions of sale of goods are not applicable to contract of sale transactions which is planned to take place by way of pledge, charge, mortgage or other security. The terms defined in the Indian Contract Act 1872 and the terms used but not defined in the Sale of Goods Act 1930 have the same meaning. Section 2 of the Sale of Goods Act 1930 consists of exhaustive definitions which are subject to explanation. Now, let us focus on contract of sale, essentials of a valid sale. A contract of sale refers to a contract through which the seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods to the buyer for a price. The contract of sale may be of two types: conditional contract of sale, absolute contract of sale. Conditional contract of sale is a contract of sale which is based on a condition. Absolute contract of sale, unlike conditional contract of sale, is made without conditions. Contract of sale is a general term and covers two similar concepts: sale and agreement to sell. In case of sale, property in goods is passed on to the buyer from seller. In simple terms, when the property in goods is transferred from the seller to the buyer for a price is referred as a sale. Whereas in case of agreement to sell, there is only an agreement between the parties which the seller would transfer the property in goods to the buyer in future or after the fulfillment of some conditions. An agreement to sell takes place within the span of time or a fulfillment of conditions which were imposed on the transfer of property in goods to the buyer. Now, coming to the essential elements of valid sale, we have 5 essential elements. First one is parties. There will be 2 parties. Second, goods. Third, price. Fourth, transfer of general property. Fifth, essential elements of a valid contract. So, now 2 parties. The contract of sale should have 2 different parties, buyer and seller. Both these parties must be capable of performing the contract. Buyer refers to a person who buys the goods or agrees to buy goods from the seller. On the other hand, seller refers to a person who sells the good or agrees to sell goods to buyer. Goods. The contract of sale should include goods so that property in goods can be transferred from the seller to the buyer. The goods in the contract of sale should be movable goods. Transfer of immovable property is not covered in the Sale of Goods Act. Very, very important. Please note down, transfer of immovable property is not covered in the Sale of Goods Act. Price. In a contract of sale, price refers to the money consideration for the sale of goods. If goods are exchanged for goods, then it is a barter system and not sale. Therefore, some portion of the consideration received in the form of money and some portion of the consideration received in the form of goods is considered as acceptable. Transfer of general property. Transfer of general property is one of the essential elements of contract of sale. Contract of sale should be for the transfer of general property in goods and not in a special property in goods. The actual owner of the goods will have general property in goods. If actual owner pledges goods with other person, then that other person will have special property in goods. Coming to essential elements of a valid contract. All the essential elements of a valid contract are same for the essential elements of contract of sale. Now, let us focus on sale and agreement to sell. We take some 10 aspects. Each and every aspect, let us differentiate them. Sale or contract of sale, agreement to sell. First, let us focus on the meaning. Coming to sale, a contract of sale refers to a contract through which the seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods to the buyer for a price. In agreement to sell is an agreement between two parties in which the transfer of goods or property takes place in future or after the fulfillment of certain conditions. Coming to the nature, sale is absolute in nature. Agreement to sell is conditional in nature. Transfer of property. The property in the goods transfers gets passed to the buyer immediately and the seller is no more considered as the owner of the goods sold. So, in sale or contract of sale, transfer of property takes place immediately. Whereas in case of agreement to sell, the property in the goods get transferred to the buyer in future course of time or after fulfillment of certain conditions. Coming to types of goods, sale mainly takes place for existing and specific goods only. Agreement to sale is mainly for future and contingent goods and sometimes even for undetermined existing goods. Risk of loss. With respect to sale, the goods are damaged in the process of sale. The loss must be incurred by the buyer even if the goods are in the possession of a seller. Whereas in agreement to sale, the loss for the damages is incurred by the seller even if the goods are under the possession of the buyer. Consequences of breach. With respect to sale, seller can sue the buyer for failure to pay the price of the goods or for the breach of contract by the buyer even though the goods are in possession of a seller. Agreement to sell. In agreement to sale, seller can sue buyer if there is a breach of a contract by the buyer or for the damages to the goods incurred but not for the price of the goods even though the goods are in the possession of the buyer. In agreement to sell, seller can sue buyer if there is breach of contract by the buyer or for the damages to the goods incurred but not for the price of the goods even though the goods are in the possession of the buyer. Seller's right. In sale, seller has no right to resell the goods. In agreement to sale, the original buyer can merely sue seller for the damages and the buyer who takes the goods for possession gets only the goods title. General and particular property. A sale is considered as a contract with additional conveyance and results in jus in rem, which means right against the whole world. A seller can enjoy the possession of goods and can use them as their wish. In a agreement to sale, just a contract which creates just in personam, which means right against a particular individual. Seller can sue only for the damages during the breach of contract. Insolvency of buyer. If the buyer becomes insolvent in a sale, the official assignee can only claim for the rateable dividend of the goods price and even claim for the delivery of goods from the seller. On the insolvency of buyer in agreement to sale, the seller can refuse the delivery of goods until the full payment of the goods is being made. Insolvency of seller. When seller becomes insolvent, the buyer who is also the owner can claim the receiver to deliver the goods from the official receiver or assigner. In agreement to sale, the buyer is not liable to claim the seller for the goods as the property has not been fully transferred to the buyer. Seller can only claim for the rateable dividends. Now, let us have an idea with respect to definition of goods, and also let us explain the agreement to sell the goods. Coming to the definition of goods, according to section 2(7), goods means every type of movable property except actionable claims and money. It includes stocks and shares or growing crops, grass, and things or material associated to or making a part of the land which are agreed to be stopped before sale or falls under the contract of sale of goods. Agreement to sell the goods. Important features of agreement to sell goods are as follows. Meaning, agreement to sell is an agreement between two parties in which transfer of goods or property takes place in future or after the fulfillment of certain conditions. It is conditional in nature. The property in the goods get transferred to the buyer in future course of time. Agreement to sell is mainly for future and contingent goods and sometimes even for undetermined existing goods. In agreement to sell, the loss of the damages is incurred by the seller even if the goods are under the possession of the buyer. In agreement to sale, seller can sue buyer if there is breach of contract by the buyer or for the damages to the goods incurred, but not for the price of the goods, even though the goods are in the possession of the buyer. In agreement to sale, the original buyer can merely sue seller for the damages, and buyer who takes the goods for possession gets only the goods title. General and particular property. An agreement to sale is just a contract which creates just in personam, which means right against a particular individual. Seller can sue only for the damages during the breach of contract. On the insolvency of buyer, the seller can refuse the delivery of goods until the full payment for the goods is being made. Insolvency of seller. In agreement to sale, the buyer is not liable to claim the seller for the goods as the property has not been fully transferred to the buyer. Seller can only claim for the rateable dividends. Coming to case laws related to contract of sale. A purchases milk from B. After consuming it, A falls sick. Can A claim damages? Yes. In this case, A can claim damages from B for not supplying edible item which is not in wholesome condition. Condition as to wholesomeness is made with reference to eatables, provisions, foodstuffs. Apart from being merchantable in nature, these goods must be eatable, acceptable by the human beings. Next law. Next case. A purchased a tomato sauce from B. While opening the bottle, the cork broke. A was injured. Can he claim damages? Yes, A can claim damages from B as the bottle was not of merchantable quality due to which A was injured. According to section 16(2), the term merchantable quality signifies the quality of the goods which must be free from any hidden defects. There exists an implied condition that the goods must be of merchantable quality. A TV set was sold to an illiterate. The set was defective. In spite of repairs, it did not work. Explain the remedy available to the buyer. The buyer can return the set and can claim refund because the set was defective even before the time of purchase and it did not work even after repairs. According to section 16(2), goods must be of merchantable quality when the goods are being purchased through getting the description from the seller. It must also be defect free despite of the fact that whether the defects are hidden or latent in nature. Coming to definition and types of goods. Goods. According to section 2(7), goods means every type of movable property except actionable claims and money, and it includes stocks and shares or growing crops, grass, and things or material associated to or making a part of the land which are agreed to be stopped before sale or falls under the contract of sale of goods. The contract related to goods is contract of sale of goods. In this contract, seller transfers or agrees to move the property of goods to buyer for a specific price. The items which are excluded from the term goods are any actionable claim, that is any claim to any debt or any beneficial interest in a movable property which is not in possession. These claims are not liable for sale or purchase as they can only be ascertained or allocated. The legal tender such as money and not the old and unique coins. Immovable property. Classification of goods. Existing goods, future goods, contingent goods. Existing goods are those goods which are owned or possessed by the seller at the time of contract of sale. Existing goods are further classified as specific, ascertained, unascertained. Specific goods. Goods which are recognized, agreed upon during the time of contract of sale are known as specific goods. Computer, television, ornaments, etc. Ascertained goods. The goods which become ascertained after immediate formation of the contract of sale are termed as ascertained goods. The goods which are determined out of bulk ascertained goods and the quantity released is identified and placed aside for a given contract. Unascertained goods. The goods which are difficult to get ascertained and are agreed upon the time of the contract of sale is termed as unascertained goods. These goods are explained merely by description and may form part of a lot. Future goods. The goods which are to be manufactured or produced or acquired by the seller after the creation of the contract of sale are termed as future goods. The process of sale cannot take place in future goods because the person cannot sell the goods which he does not possess. In future goods, contracting parties are not liable to discharge on non-acquisition or non-production. These goods are not in existence and even not in possession of the seller at the time of contract of sale. Contingent goods. The procurement of contingent goods mainly relies on a contingency which may or may not take place. In contingent goods, non-acquisition leads to discharge of parties, whereas non-acquisition or non-production of future goods does not lead to discharge of parties. Now, let us define delivery and also performance of contract of sale, rules associated with delivery. Delivery, as per section 2, delivery of goods refers to voluntary transfer of possession of goods from one person to another person. As per section 33, delivery of goods would result into an effect of putting the goods in possession of buyer or his representatives. Buyers can directly have some degree of control over the goods or can indirectly control through or with the help of his representatives. Performance of contract of sale. As per section 31, performance of contract of sale with reference to seller refers to the delivery of goods to the buyer, and with reference to buyer, it refers to acceptance of the delivered goods and paying for them. Rules associated with delivery. We have section from 32 to 39. Mode of delivery, section 33. As per section 33, the delivery must lead to effective way of transferring the goods to the buyer or his legally authorized representative agent. Delivery and payment concurrent conditions. Section 32. The delivery and payment of goods should be in accordance with terms and conditions of contract. As per section 32, delivery of goods by seller and payment of price by buyer are concurrent conditions. The seller should be ready and willing to transfer the possession of goods from him to the buyer in exchange for price, and the buyer should be ready and willing to pay for the price of goods in exchange for possession of the goods. Effect of part delivery, section 34. If only a part of goods are delivered with an intention of delivering the whole, would have similar effect of delivering the whole amount of goods in order to transfer the ownership of goods. If only a part of goods are delivered with an intention of separating it from the whole lot, it does not constitute as the delivery of whole of the goods. It is only part delivery, and it is referred to section 34 of rules related to delivery. Buyer to apply for delivery. Section 35. The seller of goods is not subjected to deliver the goods until and unless the buyer asks the delivery. The demand for delivery and the tender of delivery should be made at the reasonable hour. Place of delivery. Section 36(1). The place at which goods are to be delivered should be mentioned in the contract, and the goods are to be delivered during the working hours of business. Time of delivery. If there is a contract with respect to time of delivery, goods are to be delivered within the agreed time, and if there is no contract with respect to time of delivery, then the goods are to be delivered within the reasonable time. Goods in possession of a third party. Section 36, subpara 3. If At the time of sale, the third person handles the goods. The seller cannot make a delivery to the buyer until and unless the third person accepts to possess the goods on behalf of the buyer. Cost of delivery, section 36(5). Unless otherwise accepted, all expenses of the incidental to delivering the goods into the state of delivery are borne by the seller. Delivery of wrong quantity, section 37. The delivery of goods must be according to the terms and conditions of the contract. If there is any defect in delivery, the buyer has the right to reject the goods. Installment deliveries. As per section 38, the seller of goods cannot deliver the goods in installment unless and until it is agreed upon at the time of contract. Delivery to carrier. In order to carry out the contract of sale consistently, the seller is entitled and supposed to deliver the goods to a carrier with an intention of transferring the goods to the buyer or delivery of goods for safe custody is a prima facie. Law agreed as correct unless and otherwise proved, that is considered to be a delivery of goods to the buyer. Now let us focus on conditions and warranties. Usually at the time of contract there exists representations for both the buyer and seller, and when these representation becomes an essential part of the contract, it is called as a stipulation and can be classified as a condition and a warranty. According to section 12, stipulation is a contract of sale of goods, can be a condition or a warranty. Condition, according to section 12(2), a condition is a stipulation which is necessary for the aim of the contract, and if the contract is discontinued, then the aggrieved party has the right to end the contract. Warranty. According to section 12(3), the warranty is a stipulation and consists the following. A warranty is a collateral to the main objective of the contract. The breach of warranty gives the right to aggrieved party only to claim damages, does not have a right to refuse goods or end the contract. Condition is a stipulation which plays an important role in the main contract. Warranty is a stipulation which is collateral to the main objective of the contract. The aggrieved party has the right to end the contract with respect to condition. The aggrieved party has the right to claim against damages and cannot make the contract end with respect to warranty. With respect to condition, under contract, the breach of condition is same as breach of warranty. A breach of warranty is not a breach of a condition. Coming to the topic implied condition in contract of sale. Let us discuss about implied condition, types of implied condition. Implied conditions are implied by law for the contract of sale related to goods. Implied condition, we have different types of implied condition. Condition as to title. The implied condition related to seller is that seller has right to sell the goods under sale. Under agreement to sell, the seller can sell the goods only at specified time, such as at time of property to pass. Sale by description, section 15. Under contract of sale of goods, the goods should be according to the description of seller only. It is an implied condition. Next, we have a sale by sample, section 17. A contract of sale can be a sale either by sample expressed are implied, and this sale consists of some conditions like the good should be as per the sample. The buyer has the right to compare the bulk goods with the sample. The goods should be defect free. If the defects in the goods have not been identified after examining the sample, then it is called latent defect. The seller is not responsible for such defects in goods which is visible to the buyer or customer. Condition as to quality or fitness. Usually in contract of sale there is no implied condition with respect to condition of the quality or fitness of goods. Buyer should scrutinize the suitability of quality or fitness. This is called caveat emptor. Condition as to merchantable quality. According to section 16.2, goods should be of merchantable quality. When the goods are being purchased through getting the description from the seller, the goods must be of merchantable quality as per the description. Condition as to wholesomeness. Condition as to wholesomeness is made with reference to eatables or provisions or foodstuffs. Apart from being merchantable nature, these goods must be eatable, acceptable by all the human beings. Condition implied by custom, condition both quality or fitness for specific purpose should be annexed with the usage of trade. Coming to the implied warranties. Implied warranty of freedom from encumbrance, implied warranty as to harmful goods, implied warranty as to quiet possession, implied warranty as to quality or fitness by usage of trade. First one, implied warranty of freedom from encumbrance. A warranty for freedom from encumbrance implies that the goods are free from any charge or right in the side of the third party. Any charge or encumbrance interfere in the buyer's possession of goods, then the buyer has the right to claim damages for the breach of warranty. Implied warranty has to harmful goods. If the goods sold by the seller are harmful in nature, the buyer of such goods needs to be informed about it. If the seller conceals the harmful quality, the buyer suffers an injury due to such harmful quality, seller is held liable. Implied warranty as to quiet possession. Generally in contract of sale there will be an implied warranty that the buyer has usually enjoys quiet possession of goods on a condition that no contradictory intention is present in the contract. Implied warranty as to quality or fitness by usage of trade. In a contract of sale, there would be an implied warranty with respect to fitness for a specific purpose through usage of trade. Case laws related to conditions and warranties. A purchased a car from B. After using it for 3 months, X, the real owner, claims it from A. What is the remedy available to A? The remedy available for A is that he can sue B for breach of implied condition as to title. As X is a real owner of the car, A is bound to hand over the car to X. A person suffering with headache approached a medical shop and completely relied on him in taking the suitable tablet for headache. Even after taking tablet, the headache was not cured. Can the person claim damage from the shopkeeper? Yes, the person suffering with headache can claim damages from shopkeeper. In this case, the person made his purpose clear to the medical shopkeeper and purchased the medicine completely upon shopkeeper. The suggested tablet given by shopkeeper is a warranty. Therefore, there is an implied condition that the goods need to be fit for buyer's specific purpose. However, the doctrine of caveat emptor does not apply to the above case. X bought some milk from Y. The milk contained some poisonous germs. Ex-wife took the milk and got infected, of which she died. X entitled for any damages? Yes, X is entitled for damages. X can recover damages from Y on the ground of condition as to wholesomeness. In a contract of sale, condition as to wholesomeness is one of the implied conditions which states that the goods sold must be wholesome. A purchased a car from B and uses it for 3 months. It turns out that the car sold by B to A was a stolen one and was forced to return the car to the true owner. A brings legal action against B for the return of the price. Will he succeed? Yes, A would succeed. A can get back the money which he had paid for the car because B had broken the condition with respect to title. B is not a true owner and he has no right to sell the car. Therefore, B is liable to return the amount to A. So, with these topics which we have covered in this class, let us conclude here, and in the next class we can focus on doctrine of caveat emptor, and also we can study some case law related to doctrine of caveat emptor. We can study about the unpaid seller, rights of unpaid seller. We can study about the case laws related to unpaid seller. Thank you very much.